Good
And this is how we
morning.
start some Life Coach Fridays. Welcome, everybody.
Good
You should be here for
morning.
the other.
Yes, welcome to Life Coach Friday. I'm Natalie Webster, host of Tonka Talk, and every other Friday, Annette of Connected Life Coaching joins us to share tips and tools for creating better community and connection, no matter where you are. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning, Natalie. We are having so much fun. I think it's the colder temperatures.
I know
It's going
it
to be
is here.
freezing here.
I think
Literally.
we're going to have you beat. You're in Texas. If
It's true.
for those
We're
that
only
don't
going to
know.
go to 30.
Yeah, we are today. Our high is going to be, or I don't know if it's the high, but it's going to be 18.
That would be the high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I live here, honey. You should come
I
visit me this time of year. It's yeah.
I know times like this, I'm like, oh my gosh, going back home to Hawaii sounds really nice about right now.
I'm coming with you, baby. I'm coming with
I
you.
can totally do it. I feel like if the temperature stays within, the age of my oldest child, which is 32, I can live with it. Now we're getting into the holidays. It is right before Thanksgiving, and we're going into the holiday season. And many people, some of you might find yourselves thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to be so stressful because Uncle so and so is going to be there, and we really don't agree. And do I avoid topics? What do I do? I'm stressed about it. I've talked with people who've kind of expressed that as well, which has really inspired our topic today. Annette, have you run into the same kind of thing?
I've run into it in gatherings throughout my life. It was like, it's those cringy moments that somebody brings something up and you go, "Oh, so and so in the room is really not going to enjoy that. Oh, this is going someplace bad." And in those times, I've wanted to jump in and go, "Wait, we have family rules here, and this is what we're going to do." And of course, none of that works. But it's those cringy things that happen that seem to derail at least my holidays. I don't know about you, but it's like I wanna jump in and fix it or prevent, Bambi from getting hit by the train. It's like, "Yeah, Bambi, it's coming. I know it's 2 miles off, but wait, no, get off the tracks."
What do you think are some of the things that, being that sometimes we anticipate these things, it creates that stress, how we go into it making certain assumptions? Do you think that we make assumptions about what it's going to be like at holiday dinner, or what it's going to be like when I have to, share a table with this person where we have opposing viewpoints?
Mhm. That is, I think all of us have assumptions that we make no matter what we're going into. And the assumptions when we go into holiday dinners or events that we're going to, whether they're maybe work events or family, or maybe we're having a party at our house or going to one, we we set up these expectations that this is how it should go, and if it's perfect, then this is what will happen. And a lot of times, especially if you're relationship oriented type of person, you like to get in there and get connection, we have assumptions that we go in with that we're like, okay, I'm seeking this out so that I can enjoy myself. And so an assumption example would be, I have to agree with you in order to enjoy this conversation. It's
Mm.
one of those things that, because it is so much fun to talk to somebody who has, similar ideas, or maybe they're just slightly off, so that we can build upon it and build this great conversation. What do you think about that?
So then it seems like maybe the first step thing is, would you say, then kind of identifying what those assumptions are? Because you're right. If we go into it assuming that if I speak to somebody who doesn't agree with the way that I think, I'm going to have a bad time. I'm not going to enjoy it. It's
Mhm.
Whereas there is a whole different way of approaching this, that which I've learned in working with you as a life coach, where there are some tools so that we're not going at it, because when we make those assumptions, I feel that that's where all that stress comes from. We're like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh.
And it's
There's
almost like we want to crawl out of our skin, like we
yeah,
want to correct them because they're wrong, because they're wrong. So,
yeah, or at least
um, but
that's our point of view, yeah.
mhm, you know, and it's this assumption that we have to have agreement, because if we don't have agreement, what happens? I'm gonna let you, it's not just a one of those questions. If we don't have agreement, then what happens?
Then there's conflict, then there's drama, and
Mhm,
that's I would say, now that I'm even saying it out loud, definitely sounds like an assumption
mhm,
that if I, share my thoughts or I hear the thoughts of someone else at Thanksgiving dinner and we don't agree, that it'll start down a path of, "Oh my gosh," and then this drama. Or it's also that the people around me, might feel that, "Oh, these 2 are gonna get into it again," or something like that.
uh-huh, because we will have some sort of rule that follows up our assumptions that we're not allowed to have conflict or drama. And when we adhere to those kinds of rules, they're not actually helping us. They're building walls, and they're setting us up to be in fight or flight, so that we're ready to either flee the scene or, fight with people and correct them. What we're doing here by discussing this is really what I want to lean into first is awareness. Kind of seeing this thing coming, and you may have experienced it many times before, and that's why, your skin will get kind of crawly and you kind of get uncomfortable, because it's like, "Oh, I can see this coming." But it's based, and the reason why we react like that is because we have these rules in our heads going, "Oh, we're not supposed to have conflict. Oh, this is going to be bad. Oh, this is going to be," and when we repeat those things in our heads, we really build it up for ourselves. And then we can have responses that really roll up some sort of conflict, or even, heated conversation with other people in the room.
So, there is a way around this. Not even around, maybe right through it, around where do we start with avoiding this, that building of the stress and then
Mhm.
having worried about or having that conflict at a holiday gathering?
Mhm. The first thing is to be aware that it could happen. Is that And you know what? If you think about any holiday gathering that you're going to have between now and the end of January, because they go all the way through then, the chances are is that you're going to come across a situation or people that this could happen.
Mm,
When we expect things and it doesn't necessarily take us by surprise, we're less likely to go into that fight or flight, where we're ready, to correct people, or make our presence known, and our opinion, because they have to follow it for us to enjoy. We have to remember that's not necessarily the case. Because if you look across your whole life, you've had plenty of conversations with people that you don't have any agreement with at all. And
mhm,
yet it can be fascinating,
yeah,
because it's like, because you move from "you have to agree with me" to "I wonder how they got to that decision."
yeah.
And you lean in and you start asking questions. We talk a lot about dropping into curiosity, which is something that you do actively. It's part of that decision making side of the brain. And when we expect that there may be a difference of opinion, or those conflicts that'll go on, someplace else, and we go, "Oh, isn't that curious?" It really helps to start diffuse some of that angst that can happen within ourselves.
I can see in doing that, not having that anticipation and building that up and having those, like you said, those rules and assumptions that we're making, that is going to be conflict, that is going to be horrible. So if entering it, then are you saying that it's like if we change those assumptions or let go of those assumptions and go into it with an open mind about it, that it's having a conversation with someone who does disagree with us does not have to be unpleasant or conflict,
Right.
because we
Right.
drop curiosity. And that
Correct.
and you're right, you do talk about that a lot, and that's a huge tool that I try to use often, and it really is fascinating to talk to somebody who has different views and find out how they got there. In my personal experience, I find that when I do that, when I drop into true curiosity, I can connect the dots and go,
Mhm.
oh, okay. I can see that. It reminds me of that example of what is that? There's probably a name for this, and I don't know it. If you know, post it in the comments. When you look at the same thing from a different point of view, both are true. That thing where you hold up your thumb and you close one eye and you look at it, and then you close the other eye and you look at it, and it looks different.
And
Both
it
are true.
moves.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
moves. Both are true. You're looking
Mhm.
at it from a different point of view, but when you're doing that, both are true. So
Mhm.
it's kind of
The
like not assuming that everybody who doesn't agree with me is wrong. It's a different point of view.
You remember those magic eye books from when our kids were little?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where you would stare at them and then some, other thing would come to view once you would unfocus your eyes.
Uh-huh.
Some people couldn't do that. Some people couldn't unfocus their eyes and see it, and you would go, "Yeah, but don't you see the duck? The duck is there." And they're like, "There's no freaking duck there." And they're, "No, no, no, there's a duck there." And it's like, and so it's when you drop into curiosity and you quit insisting that the duck is there, you can back up and go, okay, well, the duck is there for me, but I wonder what's there for you. Now, one of the things that will trip us up as we walk through this is one of the rules that many of us have for having conversations, especially with people who are high priority or like in relationships with us. So this is where, tight friends, family, even spouses, where we will get into heavy conflict about things that maybe we disagree about, is that if I ask questions, now this is one of the rules that many people use, if I ask questions, it means that I agree with you
Mm,
or I'm willing to agree with you. But
yeah, and
the
that's
thing
not true.
is that we've coupled those two things together like train cars, and they really aren't, they're really not, they don't have to be coupled together. They can really be independent train cars just hanging out, and then we drop in and we go, "Huh, how'd you come to think about that way?
Mhm.
How'd
And
you
you're
get
right,
to
it's
that belief?"
fascinating. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's really magical, and it's not it and I had since I've been using that tool, I noticed that stress, that it those things just go away, and it
Mhm.
really becomes really interesting to see how people got to their different points of view, and if there's no pushback, because sometimes that person might expect, depending on if you've had previous interaction where there was conflict, that
Mhm.
maybe you're gonna jump in and, argue with them and all that.
Mhm.
But in curiosity, we're not thinking about how I'm gonna prove this person wrong, what article I'm gonna whip out on my phone. We're truly listening and curious about what they're saying, and you are right. I love your analogy of the train cars and unhooking it and separating out that idea that if we're curious, we're in agreement. Because 'cause you're right, we can be curious, ask questions, and never even push our thought, belief, or agenda doesn't mean that we 100% are agreeing or we're agreeing at all. We're having, in my mind, that feels like true communication. When you have
Mhm.
two people who can do that, you really can have some amazing conversations. I have a friend I know, and I don't know if you know her either, and if you're watching, it's Jill Holter.
Hey, Jill.
She and I have had amazing conversations on things that we even don't agree on, but we are able to we've had the amazingness of it has been because she's asked me, "Well, like, kinda how'd you get there?" And I ask her, "How'd you get there?" It's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating to learn what those things are." And there's no conflict, there's no
Mhm.
blow up, there's no it's really awesome conversation.
Well, and what's really interesting about that is that actually, that allowing other people to believe what they believe without correcting them or, being agreeing to be in relationship with them while understanding this aspect actually takes you down the path of deepening your relationship with her.
Yes.
Um, and so if you have we discussed the 7 steps of relationships on Life Coach Friday? I don't know if we have.
I
It's
don't
one
think
of the
we have
things.
any depth.
Okay, we do this in one-on-one coaching all the time, but we talk about how relationships, they start with like you meet somebody and then, it goes all the way to, "Hey, listen, I need you to come with a shovel, at 3 a.m." And so, and there's 7 steps all the way down to, this really deep, kind of relationship. But it is only through discussing some of these things, these differences that we all have, that we can actually deepen our relationships with other people, which proves that we don't have to be in, agreement about a topic. We just have to be in agreement about, loving and respecting each other, for even in the face of disagreements or in, a difference in values.
Yeah, I have learned so much by, I would say maybe even more from conversations with people who don't see things exactly as I do. And it's really made me get to the point where I feel strongly that I don't want to live in a world where everybody agrees with me or thinks or sees things how I see them. I am more frightened by that world than I am any type of potential conflict or anything like that. Because I have learned and grown when I've had those conversations or been exposed to other ideas and concepts that either I didn't agree with before. And again, it doesn't mean that I completely changed my mind, but sometimes it did.
Mhm.
Because I don't know everything, you know? I've
Mhm.
been around for 52 years, I've learned a lot, but I don't know everything. I've not experienced everything. I come from a different place, and each person that I come in contact with has that same story where they come from a different place as well.
Mhm.
So it really opens up your world to a lot of I think knowledge and experience and enjoyment. That's really fun. It's just talking to people from different places.
It really is. Hey, Brooke. There's one of my girlfriends from Coppell Chamber. Shout out to Coppell Chamber. Um, it is, it is really interesting. And, even though a lot of us enjoy having those conversations with people who, as I said before, have similar beliefs and we're building things and like that, I oddly enough, I ran across a movie, an older movie this week called The Giver. That was a weird movie. But the concept was that they had this society that was built on sameness.
Mm.
So, all the people wore the same clothes, they all believed the same beliefs, they all did the same things, and it wasn't until you had this one kid who was going to be given all of the memories because they thought, well, we should keep the memories from before we were all the same in order to, just preserve it for some reason. That wasn't quite the reason why it wasn't explicit in the movie. But it was everybody didn't have emotions, which was the oddest thing. And so you had this sameness. And so they would talk about people leaving to the next place. Basically, they did the sameness to eliminate murder, to eliminate strife, to eliminate, kind of this conflict between the humans. But ultimately, what they did is that they ended up creating it in a nice version, for within the community. They limited population. The people didn't get to say it, and it was so weird. And once everything came back, you could just see the colors come back and life came back. But this world is 50-50. And no matter how much we would want to create sameness, in our communities and things like that, we are all much better off because of our differences. It is only through struggle that any of us grow and become more. Just think
Mm.
of, building muscles in your body literally, or keeping your bones strong. It's only through weight and through stress that those things stay strong.
Ah, I love that. That is so, so, so true.
Mhm.
And I think you have a comment there from Brooke.
Yeah. Yeah, but she said, "Yes, my middle school read it for my kids." Interesting movie for sure. Yeah, it was. And I can't believe I didn't see it until now, but yeah, it came up on my Netflix, I think. But
Mm, mhm,
yeah,
I think
that was odd. That was odd. And, but even within the sameness, you had these people who wanted to do different things. And the main character always knew that he was a little different. And I think all of us have that within ourselves, especially when we're in communities that, are promoting that sameness.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how would you kind of sum up like if I basically what you just said, if somebody's going into the holidays coming up in meals that like holiday meals, holiday gatherings, whether it's work or with your family, what are kind of those, if you had to abbreviate those core tips, what would you say?
Okay. So, the first thing is to just be aware ahead of time what might happen so that it doesn't kind of jump out at you so that you have a knee jerk reaction. Now, you may have a knee jerk reaction, but if you remember this, then you can roll into the next step going, if that happens, what will I do? Now, you don't even have to be specific, but if something, jumps out at you, the next step is to decide, who am I? What are my beliefs? And how do I want to show up as my best self in this situation, in this moment? This is one of the things that I'm teaching in Perfecting the Holidays, which we're going to talk about at the end of Life Coach Friday. It's a
Mhm.
it's a free thing so that you can go in there and get a little more depth on this. But the next step is to have a plan because we want to make sure that we don't get derailed. This Christmas, one of the things that I want to do is that I want to spend more time with my mom. The holiday recipes and just creating those memories. And if in my family we had strife on, say Christmas Day, that would derail what I was trying to do. And so what I do is that I make sure that I keep my focus, aligned so that I show up the way that I want to. And I remember why, kind of the focus for this year. And then the third thing is to create a way for you to remember it so
Mm.
that when you are something does hit you wrong and you do drop correctly directly not into curiosity but maybe into anxiety or frustration that you take a pause. One of my mom's favorite things is that she'll
Love
just
your mom, by the way, I just have to say.
I do too. Is that she'll just excuse herself and she'll wander away and then she'll come back. But it gives her space and then I use it because it just gives me space to remember, wait, wait, wait. I don't have to do it this way. How did I choose to do it? And so, remember to taking that pause and that, one of the rules is that you can break is that you don't have to, stay in the middle of this conflict. You can excuse yourself, regroup, and
Mhm.
then decide if you want to reengage or not. Now,
Yeah.
I know that sounds kind of simplistic, and you might be thinking, yeah, but you don't know my family. They would follow me down the hall. Um, but we can talk about that. So if you have questions about that, please email me. We can help you work through this.
I like what you said about a reminder, a cue or reminder for yourself
Mhm.
to drop into curiosity and not just, go at somebody guns blazing. And I actually had mine tattooed on me, which I don't know if you can see it, probably because it's backwards, my Live Aloha tattoo on my
Mhm.
arm so that whether I'm driving, when people are doing crazy things, or if wherever I am, if I find myself, kind of getting a little upset about it, or it feels like a
Mhm.
feeling that I don't like, my cue for my pause, because you know how I'll often like kind of just look down and then I remember, oh yeah, live aloha. And live aloha for me means letting people be who they are, being who I am, and being able to share that exchange of differences and
Mhm.
celebrating our differences and hearing. And often when, like you were saying earlier, when you find out the background of how someone got there, what they went through in life that led them to having beliefs or ideas that are different from yours, it creates this understanding that I have found have made me raises my affinity, care, and love for that person. Because even though we might not vote the same today or agree on certain issues the same today, because I understand them more, because I listened and asked questions, it's this natural, just like I like them so much more, even if we don't agree. So
Mhm.
Get it tattooed if you have to.
Exactly. So what I will do is that I will put it on an index card or I'll just stick it on my phone.
Mm,
So, but whatever way you need to do it, if you can just keep that reminder with you so that, maybe you just put a star on your
mm.
hand and you know what that means. So many
Yeah, it
times when
reminds you
we
to
get
take a step back.
So many times when we get into these situations, we have all of these people that, aren't normally together. We think that we have to create our place and we have to have our power. But one thing that I want you to remember as you go into your holiday season is that to create your place and power is to understand who you are, how you want to show up, and it is a place where you actually gain your own power because you gain the ability to create the experience that you want to have in any event or, even coffee that you go to throughout this holiday season.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's touch on your perfecting the holidays you were talking about. What do you have coming up?
So, I have coming up something called Perfecting the Holidays Plan. This is a free 3-part series that is going to help you plan an individual holiday. And once you get this done, the unique thing is that you can apply that process to any event or holiday that you have throughout this holiday season. On the back end of that, there is, if you really want to deep dive into this, come join the community called Perfecting the Holidays. And not only are we going to get you through overcoming the troublemakers, getting through these more conflict things, as well as creating your experience, we are also going to jumpstart your 2023 in a big way because for me, the holidays start November 1st and they go all the way through January 30th. And when I do January well, the rest of the year just falls in place. So if you
That's
want to see that, sorry, go out to connectedlifecoaching.net, NET /holiday plan. And you can register for the free 3-part course and you'll get your emails and your videos, your worksheets so that you can build that personal holiday plan. So connectedlifecoaching.net /holiday plan. And we'll put that link in the comments underneath these pages where you're watching it on Facebook.
Ooh, I love that. What perfect timing. Well, thank you so much, Annette, and everyone else who's joined us. Go ahead and post in the comments, or you can reach out to Annette just where she said it, connectedlifecoaching.net. You know where to find me. If you have ideas about topics that you want us to talk about, especially as we go through the next few months, which can sometimes be tough for people. So hopefully we'll make it easier and give you some tools to create better community, better connection wherever you are. Um, I think I love that.
Thanks, sis. Great Friday show. Y'all make a great team. Yes, we do. We love each other. Thank you so much, Shell.
Well, very cool. We will absolutely have a happy Friday. Hopefully, everybody else has a happy Friday or Aloha Friday, as we always say in Hawaii.
Mhm.
So I guess we will see you not next Friday, but the Friday after.
First Friday in December.
Yep, that sounds right. Thank you, everyone.